Hey guys, Merry Christmas. Okay, so I have a feeling that this is going to end up being just me this morning because I realized as I got started to go with this that I put the wrong link in the Trello event description. So if you are somebody who happened to catch this later because you got the post event email and it had a different link than what you had before, my apologies. I am so sorry. You can see actually in the comments here that one person joined over in StreamYard, which is where I do these live streams from. And I had to boot them. I'm so sorry. Nothing personal. It's just not what my intention was as far as this event. It's meant to be a YouTube event. So hopefully you guys find this. Hopefully the link gets updated later. So sorry. Anyways, let's go ahead and start building. So I will try to keep an eye on the comments in case anyone does find the correct link and ends up over here. But I'm just going to assume that nobody is here live and that y'all are finding it later. So yeah, let's just get to it. So one of the things that, pardon me, I got to make a quick sip. I got a little something. So one of the things that I don't love about the Christmas time is just the craziness of it, the overwhelm, all the things that prevent us from being able to just enjoy the season, right? Oh, good. Some people are here live. Awesome. Woohoo. I'm glad you guys found me. Hopefully I got that changed over on the Trello link in time. And so a bunch of people will find me here, but let me know where you're watching from and all that good stuff. If you're new to Trello, if you've been using Trello for a long time. But basically, I started to feel super overwhelmed with gift giving, with even sometimes Christmas cards, which I am very, very bad and inconsistent about sending out versus not sending out. This year we managed to send some out. So happy about that. But just a lot of different things that I need to stay on top of around the Christmas seasons, primarily when it comes to gift giving, keeping track of who I've already bought things for, what I'm wanting to buy for somebody. And this is something that I can use year round, right? Because sometimes you get ideas for people for gifts. And, if you're like me and you try to really pay attention and listen when people talk so that you can surprise them with a gift that they really, really wanted at Christmas, I need some place to put that where I will actually find it later. So, awesome. Hey guys, great to see you. So that's what I kind of started, was this board for tracking those ideas of things that I wanted to buy people, and then when I'd actually purchase them and all of that. And then I ended up taking it a step further where I started tracking how much money I'm actually spending when I'm doing this, so I can keep track of and manage and maintain my budget during this time. So that's what we're going to be building. It's just a super simple gift giving tracker, budget tracker kind of thing. It can expand to all kinds of things, like I said, Christmas cards, or when you're planning your holiday meals and things like that. So maybe we'll get into that if you guys want to see that a little bit down the line, but I'm going to start with just the basics. I do want to say from the beginning here, some of what I will be building into this board does require a paid account, but you can get a lot of this without using that feature. Okay. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. There is at least one premium feature I can think of. Most of what we're doing though is not premium and can be done in a free account. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to start from the very, very beginning of just creating a new board. So just in case anyone is brand new that is watching this, I see we have a few people who've been using Trello for a little while, but just in case it's a brand new thing for you, or it's just been a minute since you actually created a board, we're going to start there. So we're going to, on any board that you're on, you're going to have this create button. We're going to come up here and hit create board. And then I'm going to go ahead and just give it a name. And so I'm just going to say gift tracker. Actually, let's say gift and budget tracker, because that is part of what we're doing here. I'm going to put it in my paid workspace so that you guys can see that premium feature, and go ahead and hit create. And this can obviously be used beyond Christmas, right? You can use this to track birthdays throughout the year and things like that. All of those things that we have a tendency to track on our Google Calendar or iCalendar, but this can take it just a step further and really help you stay a little bit more organized with it. Sarah, you used it to track Christmas dates, times, things you were making for each one. Yes, included a grocery list. Absolutely. You could do that as well. And like I said, I have done that in the past. And so maybe we'll include a little bit of that, but we're going to start with just the gift aspect of it. And since I typically use this for Christmas, we're going to use a Christmassy background because, I mean, come on. This is one of my favorite things about Trello is that you can make it aesthetic and make it fun. So, there's so many good choices here already, but I'm going to go ahead and grab this one primarily because I feel like the blur to it will make it not be too busy of a background, right? Okay. So we're going to start with that. And then the first list that I'm going to create here is my template list. Now, if you are new to Trello, you might be wondering if there's actually such a thing as a template list, like you can have template boards and template cards. There isn't technically a template list. However, you can make a list act like a template, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just call this Christmas 2000XX. And actually, I'm going to do capital X's. And that's how I signal to myself that this is a template. I don't ever want to put real information, if that makes sense, into this list. I'm always going to copy it year to year. So then you're going to start adding cards for people that you would typically buy for. So you're going to do mom, dad, maybe mother-in-law, father-in-law. You could also combine some of these people if perhaps you do kind of family gifts and things like that. That also works. Got to include the husband, even though he's probably going to have a lot more on here than maybe other people will. Let's do, niece. Oh my goodness, I could spell. Niece, nephew, grandmother, right? There's all kinds of people that we could put on here. I don't have a brother, but if you have a brother and all of that kind of stuff. So we're going to just start with our template list of the people that we typically buy for. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add our first custom field. And actually it's the only custom field that I really use when I am doing this board. Now, as we build this out and maybe go into more of a grocery and shopping kind of situation, maybe there will be some other lists that we might, or I'm sorry, custom fields that we might use. Sarah, yeah, Thanksgiving and I mean, this could be your like holiday board all the way around, which includes birthdays, like I said. But let's go ahead and add our custom field. And you can add custom fields in a couple different places. You can do it straight from the card itself. You can come here and go add and say custom fields. Or if you want to just not go into a card, you can click all the way on your 3 dot for the whole board and hit custom fields. Either way, these fields are going to appear on every card on this board regardless. Okay. So we're going to just add one simple custom field and we are going to call it money spent. And then the most important thing about this particular field is that we make it a number field, and you will see why in a minute. So we're going to say number field, and then whether or not you want it to show on the front of the card, this is one of those places where it's counterintuitive to me. So I think of this when the card is closed, it always makes me think of the back of the card. I don't know why. This is technically considered the front of the card. So when we have this check mark, it means that when there is a value in that field on that card, you will see it even when the card is closed. So let's go ahead and leave that for now, just so you can see how that works. But you can always come in and uncheck that if you don't want to see it. So we're going to go ahead and hit create. And then from here, we can now click into any of these cards and see our custom field. Now, if we were to add something in here, you're now going to see how that appears on the front of the card when it's closed. Okay. So that is kind of the core of what we're doing here. Now, if you have any questions, I know sometimes I go a little bit fast, and so I will try to kind of slow down a little bit. But if you have questions as I go along, go ahead and drop them in the comments and I will address them as we go. But I'm just going to keep going because the next part of what we want to build into our template list is using a power-up. It's one of the power-ups that Trello puts out themselves. It's called dash cards. If you've never heard of, if you've seen any of my videos before, you've probably experienced a dash card, even if you didn't know it, because I use them on a lot of my boards. This is a completely free custom power up, a free power up. And it's one that can be used if you have a free account. You can absolutely use it to roll up certain things. It can count how many cards are on a particular list. It can look at due dates and tell you when things are overdue or coming due or things like that. But when you're using custom fields, particularly number custom fields, and this is why this matters so much, you can actually roll up and sum up a total. So for example, as you might be gathering, how much money you have spent so far. So I'm going to go ahead and add that power up real quick. And if you don't know about power ups, this is a rabbit hole that you're going to go down. So let me just warn that in advance. It's a wonderful rabbit hole, but it is a place where you're going to find a lot of, they're basically like apps that can be added onto a Trello board that add functionality. So they can, and sometimes they're really, really simple, like what we're doing right here, basically like dashboard widgets. And sometimes they can be incredibly complex. And typically those complex ones are going to come with some added cost. And a lot of those, most of those are actually created by third parties. So you're going to be paying that added cost to another company, not to Trello. So when you come up here, you're going to see our little rocket ship. We're going to click on power ups, and then we're going to add power ups. And this is when this whole catalog comes up. And this is where I'm talking about the rabbit hole, because there's a lot of stuff in here, guys. But let's not get distracted. We're going to come here and we're going to search dash cards. Oops. And we're just going to go ahead and click on that and then hit add. Now it's going to pop up a couple of things that are going to, show us how it works and offer to kind of walk us through some things. I don't need to do that. I've used it a bunch before, so I'm just going to show you how it works here. Okay. But when you add it yourself, you will see a few things like that. So now we're going to I might need to refresh my screen, because sometimes when you add a power up, you can see it's appeared right here, but it has not yet appeared up here. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh my screen. I don't think this will screw up. Yeah. Okay. So it's still sharing. So that's good. So now we can see we have a new icon up here in the menu. And that is another place where you can create a dash card. So honestly, it's 6 of one, half a dozen. It's the same difference. It's just that if you do it over here on the list, it's going to automatically populate it onto the list that you have, that you've clicked on. If you were to have multiple lists and click it from up here in this menu, it's going to drop your dash card onto the first list as a default, and then you can drag it around. So honestly, it's your preference. It really doesn't really matter. So we're going to go ahead and actually just start from right here. We're going to get this pop-up that is going to give us a couple of templates to start with. Okay. These are the most common use cases. So this is a great kind of place of inspiration if you're using this for the first time, or you can start completely from scratch and build your own. But all of these can be 100% customized to what it is you're trying to do. So I have a tendency to start with the in this list option, just because it already does a couple of things for me. And it's basically what I'm going to be doing. I usually put it at the top of the list that I want it on. Not always, but usually. So I'm going to go ahead and hit customize here. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and put in here. And because this, remember, is going to be on our template list to start with. So I'm going to say, 20. And actually, yeah, let's go ahead and copy our XX just like we did before. And we're going to say spend. Because what we're going to be doing is rolling up how much money we have spent so far on gift giving for that particular year. And then we can always change our background on our dash card. You can use just simple colors, but again, it can search Unsplash just like our background for the entire board can do. So of course, I'm going to do that again. Oops. Hello, where's the T? Okay. So now we've got Christmas again, and let's pick a different one. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one this time because it kind of has a nice little frame around the number that we're going to be tracking. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this as the board being the same as dash card, because you can use dash cards to gather information from other boards within your workspace, which is a very cool way to use it. And I can, if you're not familiar with dash cards, I can definitely link later on this video. I will go ahead and link to one of my other videos where I go deeper into other ways that you can use dash cards. I'm not going to do all of that right now. I'm just going to show you this one example. And we're going to go ahead and also leave it with the list that it's on. And that's because every year as we create our new list, we're going to want that dash card to just look at the list that it's on. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. That way it stays dynamic. Okay. And we're actually going to go ahead and just from here, we're going to hit start tracking. Now, in order to track something that's in a custom field, right now it's defaulting to just counting how many cards are in this list. Okay. Not the most helpful information. But like I said, we have here our custom field that is a number, which means that it now becomes accessible into our dash card as something that we can track. So I'm going to click into the dash card again. I'm going to scroll down here. You can see that it is giving us a list of all the cards that are currently being rolled up into this dash card. That is all the cards that are on that list. But when we click explore and edit, it reopens our dash card settings. But now we can see there's kind of a little bit more available to us here. So when we look, so we've got a place here where if we needed to edit our filters for any reason, you could edit, add more filters, all that stuff. But we don't need to do that. We just want to switch the metric that is being displayed on the dash card. Right now, it's a simple count, but I actually want it to sum up the amount of money that has been spent so far. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. You can see it has now changed to say $100. And that is based on, it's still looking at all of the cards in that list, but only one of them actually has a value right now, right? So let's say we go into one of our other cards, we add another dollar value, and it's now going to, and it does take a second to kind of refresh itself, but it's going to update itself. So now we can see how much money has been spent overall. Okay. Super simple thing, but so helpful, right? So I'm going to go ahead and actually clear these out because when we have our template cards, we don't want them to have values in them yet. Okay. So we're going to go ahead. Oops. Hello. We're going to go ahead and leave those blank so that our dash card at the top will also be blank. Okay. And then one thing that I typically add to my cards, and usually I would have done this before I started creating all of these individual cards, because I don't typically like to have to do this for each individual one, but I will create a checklist that just says ideas. And this is what I can come to throughout the year when I have gift ideas for these people. And I can go ahead and just type in what that idea is. And then I have a tendency to kind of also include the expected cost of that particular idea so that I can start keeping an eye on how much I might be spending and keep track of my budget for that particular person. So we're going to add that same checklist. And here's, like I said, I typically would not have created all of my cards before doing this, because then I could have just done it as I went, but that's okay. This gives me an opportunity to show you how you can sort of have template checklists as well. So just like with cards and boards and lists, so we don't have official templates for checklists, although that would be a cool thing that they could create. But you can, in theory, have a template for a checklist. So let's say we had items on that checklist. When we come in and hit the checklist button, it gives us an option here to say copy items from. And so I'm going to go ahead and just hit ideas and add, and it's just going to create the same checklist. Now, typically in a situation like this, I mean, these are blank. So is it really faster to do it this way? Probably not in this case. But in other cases, when you are doing when you actually have a checklist of maybe to-do lists or things like that, that is a very, very time-saving way to copy the same checklist onto other cards. It then also becomes kind of usable in automation as well, but I'm getting off track here. Okay. So we're going to go ahead into all of these. We're going to add, and I won't do it for all of them because you don't need to watch me do it on all of them. But the idea being that we would have this ideas checklist on all of the cards. So then when we come to this year, we're going to use this list as a checklist. Okay. We're going to come right here to the list actions. and we're simply going to copy the list, and we're going to put the year here. And as we do that, we're going to create the list, and all of these things are going to automatically copy over. The only thing that we would need to change in this situation, we actually don't even have to update the settings on this dash card. Because why? Because we set it up dynamically so that it only looks at the list that is on. So if we were to, for example, on the mom card right underneath it, add money to it again, you're going to see that it's going to roll up to the correct list, not to the first template list, right? That's why we did it dynamically instead of having it, looking at this particular list. We just said whatever list it's on, right? But we do want to update this name of the card. We don't want it to say, 20XX spend. We want it to now say 2025 spend. So again, I'm going to come in here to explore and edit. And all I'm going to do is, actually, I don't think I actually need to even go that far. Now that I think about it, I'm just going to come right here and say 2025 spend. You don't even have to go into the edit because we set it up dynamically like that. Okay. If you wanted to change the background though, and have a different background every year, you would need to go into the edit and do that. Okay. So, how simple is that, right? This is an incredibly basic, but super helpful as we go through and come up with ideas and, start adding things. I then typically will, when I add ideas, let's say I put a book, whatever, once I purchased it, I will usually check it off. But I do also use labels in this situation. And this is something that you might want to use because maybe you want to put in, the amount of money that you're expecting to spend, but you don't want it to show up at the top here until you've actually made the purchase. Okay. So let's show that as an example. I don't typically do mine that way, but let's just say that you wanted to. So first we're going to create a label. We're going to come up again in here. You can do this in multiple places, but I'm just going to do it from the board level. We're going to come down to labels, and then I'm going to go ahead and just put it on the green and just say purchased. Okay. So we're just going to add that label. So if we wanted to, like I said, maybe we add another custom field here, right? Maybe we want to come in here and say, okay, money spent is what has actually been spent, but what am I budgeting for the year? Okay. So maybe we're going to say something like yearly budget. Again, we want that to be a number because if we want to roll it up to the top, we want to make sure that it actually is a number that it can sum up in that way. We're not going to show that on the front of the card. We're just going to go ahead and hit create. So let's just say the yearly budget for mom this year is only $50. I don't know why I put 150 here, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The point is we can then create another dash card if we want to that is going to look at, and again, remember how I said there were two ways that you could do this? I'm going to go ahead and do this on this list only for right now. I'm going to hit track with dash card. It's going to just create that basic dash card for us. I chose a photo that I would probably never use. So let's go in and edit that. Because that photo, I don't know, something about it just does not, it does not work for me. If you want to change the photo, you're going to just click on this little guy right here. And then we're going to say Christmas again. We're going to just pick a different one. And then I'm going to edit the filters. Actually, no. Do I need to edit the filters on this one? No, I don't, unless I want to make it more dynamic. But in this case, I'm going to let it stay just on this list because I'm not sure if I'm going to use this one moving forward. So let's go ahead and save that. But metrics wise, now we're going to come down here and you're going to see we have two options. We have yearly budget as well. So I'm going to click on yearly budget and allow that to be there. So my budget, and actually this is one of those things where as we add this, it's going to sum it up, right? So we've got our budget for mom is 50, let's say the same thing for dad. And as we go through, we're going to see what our total budget is. We'll start to see if our money spent is creeping up above the budget. I just see Sarah, will we get a recording of this afterwards? Yes, absolutely. So this will stay on YouTube. So you'll be able to send them the link to this video and they can just watch it right afterwards as well. So great question. So this is going to allow people to be able to see when their budget is creeping. Okay. So we've got our yearly budget, but now we want to back this off. So there's a couple ways we could do this, right? We have money spent, implying that we have already spent it. But what if we haven't? What if we've just earmarked that money and so we haven't technically spent it yet? And we want to filter so that it only shows up in our spend once we've actually made the purchase. So here's where we need to add one more filter to this dash card. Again, coming into the card, going to explore and edit. And then up here at the top where I said we could edit filters if we wanted to, we're going to do that. We're going to edit filters. We're going to click on more filters. And we have some options here, but we're going to go with labels because that is how we're going to indicate whether we've made the purchase or not, or we've just earmarked the budget. So we're going to hit labels and we're going to select and say includes any of, and then we're going to come down here and choose our purchased label. And what you're going to notice is that it now cleared out because none of our cards have that purchase label yet, right? So now we come back out here, we've got a 0. But let's say we come back into mom now and we add that purchase label back in. You're going to see that it's going to now pull that up into the dash card. Okay. So there's a couple of different ways that you can track things for yourself. So whether or not it's just a matter of ideas and I've bought all these things and now, mom is completely done. I've purchased all the things for her. Okay. That budget is now kind of solidified, right? So hopefully this is helpful. I know we talked a little bit about doing some shopping list ideas as well. So I can show you just kind of an example of that. I also did Christmas cards this year on here. So I just added this one doesn't really have anything special. I just did a super simple Christmas cards list and then added a card for everybody that I was planning on giving a Christmas card to. And for some people, I'm mailing them. For some people, I'm just giving it to them. So on their particular card, I'm putting their address in the description if I'm mailing it to them. So that next year, when I come around to hopefully doing Christmas cards again, not only will I be able to remember who I gave cards to, because how often do you do that? You forget and you're like, okay, if I don't give them a card this year, but I gave them one last year, they're going to wonder why everybody else got cards and they didn't get one, right? This helps me remember who I sent them to, but it also has their address super handy so that next year I don't have to go searching for it or like I did, texting my mom and asking for those addresses because I'm not very good at keeping track of those otherwise. So now next year I will just have all of those handy right in context when I'm ready for them. Okay. Also, like I said, when we're coming to our shopping list idea, so if you have specifics that like you want to know how you would do, drop those in the comments real quick. Otherwise, I'm just going to do like a really simple and actually let's specify here because shopping list in this context could sound like all of our shopping, which is not what we mean. So maybe we'll do like meal planning and we'll have like a grocery list underneath. Okay. So we'll say like that you can do this in cards or you could do this in checklists, but let's again be specific to the year. Let's say meal planning 2025 and let's say Christmas Eve and then maybe Christmas breakfast, right? Maybe we have different things that are, we're going to have like a special meal for each thing. And then maybe we're also making Christmas cookies for the year. And so we can say Christmas cookies as well and just indicate which types of things we're going to be making and then allow ourselves to create a grocery list for this. Now, to get fancy with that, I'm probably not going to do that this morning because that is a much larger process to do. But I did do a build with me a couple months ago where we were starting to build out a meal planner and we got into some of that like grocery shopping and ingredients aspect of it. I will again in the, I'm going to put a bunch of links. I'm going to pin them as a comment to this video so that you can easily find them later. But I'm going to link you to, I think I mentioned a dash cards video, so I will do that. I'm going to link you to the build with me where we started a meal planner. I'm going to say started because we didn't totally finish it, building it out, but we got pretty close. So you'll get a pretty good example. And then also while I was doing that meal planner, I actually ran into a problem while we were doing it. The automation was not behaving the way I expected. and I found a solution. And so I posted a video of that solution. So all three of those things I will pin in a comment to the top of the comments here on this video. But unless I see in the next minute or two specific requests for building something out into this meal planner or grocery list, I'm going to probably just end this build with me here, because we've built out the basics. Not all of our Trello boards need to be super complicated or have a ton of automation or, have a lot of, take a lot of time to build. Like, really, they can be pretty quick and simple. So I do want to show that here in this video. But if I see a comment in the next minute or two, I will try to grab that before it's too late. Otherwise, just make sure you come back here to that pinned comment and you find all the videos that I'm going to link to, so you can go ahead and watch those as well. Okay. I'm not seeing any specific comments, so I'm going to just leave it here. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. You can see shopping is on the brain right now. But anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and say Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. I hope that you use Trello to stay organized. I know it's a little bit late for this year, maybe, but get this prepped and ready so that next year you can use this and be on top of your game, and even start, doing, even if you don't do your shopping along the way, do your planning and ideas for your people that you shop for along the way. Okay, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day, wonderful weekend, and Merry Christmas.